It was absolutely, basically terrifying. It threw what I call a scream slash growl. Well, my name is Daniel Gonzalez. Um, I'll tell you what, I lived in the state of Oregon, and this is back in the let's see, late '70s and through the '80s. Um, I lived in Hood River, Oregon, and that is a place where there's quite a bit of activity. And I can tell you that I never believed it, or I never didn't believe it. In other words, I wasn't an unbeliever and made fun of the people that were commenting. But at that time, if you did mention something that you had seen such a situation or an animal, uh, you it didn't fit too well. So I just I was neutral. I was neutral. My big hobby was fishing and hunting, and I had 40 acres, and I had my horses and a horse trailer, and I worked during the year just looking forward to the next hunting season. And when there wasn't a hunting season, I would go up and pack in the woods and just camp. But I'm talking really pack in the woods, not a little bitty where the car is. I'm talking mainly was Three Sisters Wilderness Area, which is the Pacific Crest Trail crosses through it. And there were lakes and places we fished when there wasn't hunting, and there was deer hunting, and there was elk hunting, and there was bear hunting, and there. So I basically lived probably a fifth of my life inside the woods, including taking my kids as they grew up into it with their own horses, etc. So it was a lot of fun. Now, do you want me to proceed to tell you when that changed from being neutral to believing?
Well, yeah. What got you started in really believing and having an interest in it? Yeah.
Well, I wasn't searching for anything. It was completely off of my mind. It wasn't. I didn't go in the woods looking for Bigfoot, nor did I even think that they were going to be there or worried about it in any way, shape, or form. But I had hunted this area now for approximately 10 years when this occurred. Uh, for those who might be familiar with Oregon, what I would do is I would go to a I would drive to a lake called Devil's Lake, which is just north and east, no, and west of Bend, Oregon. And that was one of the access to the Pacific Crest Trail, and that's where I generally would, I would have everything in my pickup, the horses, pack saddles, and my food, and et cetera, et cetera. This time, though, there wasn't any hunting season, and I wanted to get in shape. And my son, who was now probably 14, 15, uh, grew up around hunting and fishing, so he was very interested. So I tell my son, hey, listen, why don't we this weekend go up there with backpacks, and that's going to help us get in shape, and we see how game is moving around, etc. And so this time, instead of a big wall tent that I usually pack because I had horses, many horses, six. This time we put backpacks, and we put a very light nylon. I can remember the color. It was an orange nylon tent, which was small enough to put in a backpack, but it did fit four people. So he invited two other friends that were very familiar with my family and vice versa. And we started driving actually about 12 or 1 o'clock from my house. We started driving towards that spot. We get there perhaps at 4 o'clock in the morning or so. and the backpacks were ready, and so we started going up in the dark already, and we stopped and rested because it was all uphill that way. And to make a long story short, we got there nearly at noontime, and well, we put the tent. The Forest Service makes three wall cabins that they put up in the real far away wilderness, so that if you're there and you get caught in a snowstorm, you have a place to hide. So what we did, excuse me, what we did was put the tent inside that because it was self-contained. You didn't have to stake it, and the bottom was wood. So we put the tent inside. That was a step up from the Pacific Crest Trail, perhaps a foot. So we put the tent there, and we cooked and we ate lunch, and then we went out, kind of doing a little bit of investigating. Each one of us, we everybody knew the country. There's a spot where the Pacific Crest Trail has it opens up, and it makes it has a lower area and a lower trail and an upper trail. It opens up, and about 5 or 6 miles later, it, no, further north, it closes up again. Okay, so we always would take the lower trail, but that area was enclosed by two trails, so there's no way to get lost. If you walk in one direction, sooner or later you're going to run into the trail. That's why we picked that area. So everybody went out. A couple hours later, everybody's back. Oh yeah, I saw a deer. Oh yeah, I saw elk. This and that and whatever. We cooked again, and about kept on, talking. And about, perhaps I would say, 10 o'clock at night, we said, well, let's call it a day, and we'll see tomorrow. So everybody went to sleep. I used to carry a 44 Magnum revolver all the time when I went into the woods. Put it beside me, and about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I hear these steps getting closer to the tent. Um, I thought it were perhaps other hunters doing the same thing because I had heard them before. The way the woods were set up, you could actually literally hear a conversation a mile away. The way it was funneled or whatever, but I heard these steps and it woke me up, and it got closer and closer and closer, and just so that you can picture that the moon was to my feet, to the front of the three wall uh, cabin, and it would shine. The light would shine through the thin walls of the tent, and this person, quote unquote person, uh, got close, and it was probably a foot from the tent, and the shadow was completely overwhelming. And I figured, well, okay, that's because it's got the moon behind them, and he didn't say anything, and it was breathing, and I could hear the very strong breathing. And then I said, could it be an elk or could it be a bear? But it walked so long in 2 feet that I said, no, it can't possibly be a bear. Then, at that time, I had just woken up. My mind was confused, and I said, could it be somebody that wants to hold us up, rob us? I mean, we're 6 hours from the car, no, from anything. It's just completely wild. So I got my 44 Magnum. I remember turning on my back, putting the revolver held with my right hand in my chest, and say, "Hey, man, I don't know who you are, but do not come close. Do not touch the tent. I have a gun, and I will shoot you. I don't know who you are." Nothing happened. Nothing moved. I could see a little body move, but nothing. And the breathing continued, maybe for about another 30 seconds. The After 30 seconds, we could see that it turned and it continued towards the north on the Pacific Crest Trail. But you can imagine the time that it took for me to sit inside my get out of the open the zipper on my sleeping bag and opened the zipper on the small tent and put one foot or one knee out because I couldn't stand and look towards that direction with a gun in my hand. Full moon. This animal heard the zipper sound and my sound and then turned around and looked directly at us. And when I say us, is by that time the three young men woke up and were actually sticking the head out, also trying to get out. One didn't fit because it was a small door. And the animal turned around. I could see the features of the face, I could see the size. It was absolutely uh, basically terrifying because I remember thinking, because I've hunted through the United States and I know what a gunshot can do to an animal, a particular size of animal. And I knew that a 44 Magnum, if that animal wanted to attack me 15 yards away, it would lead to me. And even if I got a shot off, I would never be able to disable it before it could tear me apart. It threw a what I call a scream slash growl because it was sort of the two things combined that echoed through those mountains in a way that I had never heard before. And instead of attacking us, what it did is just turn and continue to walk in a very fast pace. It was, I can say, black. It could have been dark brown. Long hair, perhaps 6 inches of hair around the body, except for the face. The face was a combination of a semen slash human. Um, it wasn't a monkey face because I see a lot of people put a monkey face. It was not a monkey face. It was a flat. The mouth wasn't out there like a monkey. It was flat. It was a nose. The eyes were, the way he looked at you was like a human. And then it turned around and started walking fast and looked back 3 or 4 times. And then it turned off the trail and I started walking towards the three mountains. I've never been on top of the mountains. I've been close, but they call it Three Sisters because it's three volcanoes that are in that area. You can look it up in a map. And obviously, needless to say, uh, we didn't sleep for the rest of the night. We were just talking for the rest of the night, wondering and worried about its return. But nothing happened. It didn't come back. I remember next morning, I didn't put this when I wrote it. Next morning, I was due to go back out. I was, again, thinking of the shape. We're going back out and getting the car, picking up my wife, and going to a Sunday brunch that they had near there in the airport that was near there. And I went down and I took my wife and I came up. I left the 44 Magnum with my son, and they didn't. The kids stayed there, and I came back to get them the next day. I mean, the same day. I went out Sunday morning, and so this happened on a Saturday night. I went out Sunday morning, had the Sunday brunch, and came back, and we slept again that night, and nothing ever happened. What has happened now? Those kids are now 47, 48 years old. And what has happened since they still hunt to this day that same area, they have had steps from far away. They have had little rocks thrown at the tent. Um, so they all believe. At the beginning, we couldn't go out there. I'm a mechanical engineer and worked for a very reputable company, and you know they would think that their engineer was crazy or something at that time. But now you know how there's a lot of sightings. Everybody is um, talking about it and saying, talking about their experience. So that's why I decided to put it up. I put it up. I decided to put it up probably a year and a half ago, and, I have put it in other groups that are interested in that. And yes, I know it exists. There's no doubt in my mind, and I always tell people, listen, The mountain gorillas lived in the mountains with humans nearby, and the humans did not know that it was there for 100 years. And eventually, we discovered them, and it's relatively not too long ago, probably 100 years ago, 80, 90 years ago, but they were there forever, and we didn't know they were there. And then a lot of people say, well, have you ever seen a skeleton? And I tell them this. I said, listen, this is how nature is. I have ridden on horseback, Montana, Wyoming, South Dakota. I have Northern California, Oregon. I have gone in for weeks at a time. Not only have I not seen a skeleton from a Bigfoot, I have never seen a bear skeleton. And I've seen many bears in the wild. I have not seen an elk skeleton. I guess the moment they die, immediately they're eaten by animals or whatever. Or maybe these creatures have enough intelligence to bury their dead. I don't know. I'm not a superstitious guy. I didn't smell anything like they say they smell. At least not there. I didn't smell anything. And I didn't feel any supernatural trans, sending me thoughts or nothing. It was basically looking at an animal. That's basically what it was. And that's it. That's why I joined the group, seeing what other people have seen and what they have to say. And but I can tell you, I don't care what anybody says. I know it exists. I know what I saw. Four of us saw it. To this day, we talk about it now a little more open. At the beginning, we were afraid other people hearing us saying things like that because they would think that we thought that they were going to think that we were crazy or something like that. And the only thing I regret is that I'm now in a wheelchair. I had back injury and back surgery. I'm healthy otherwise. Otherwise, I'd be in the woods. I would, now that I'm retired, I would live in the woods. So basically, that's it.
Did you ever go to that area and see if there was any footprints, structures, any kind of markings or anything like that?
Never went. I went and hunted that season. I was now aware of that, but I can tell you the Pacific Crest, unless the Pacific Crest Trail is packed, gravelly, sandy stuff. I don't care how much you weigh. You're not going to make an indentation there. There are other places that are softer, but the grass grows in the summer. Grass grows 2 feet tall, and so no. Have I ever seen a footprint? Not ever, other than the ones I see online. I've never seen a footprint, nor did I ever look for a footprint. We did walk towards the area that he stopped and walked that the next morning, but no, we did not see any indentation or anything like that. No.
Have you ever heard of the Sierra sounds? Have you heard those sounds?
The what?
The
Oh
Sierra
yeah,
sounds.
absolutely. I've heard the Sierra sounds.
What do
Yes.
you think of those?
Huh?
What do you think of those?
I think they're phenomenal, and I do think that they are. It's Bigfoot, definitely. I think they're capable of many different sounds. I I now, after a while, deduced that um, what that animal was saying is, "Please leave me alone. Don't follow me," because that's really was what the message. It just made that sound, growl, scream, and then just turn around. And it's not like he was there ready to fight or anything. He just looked back like saying a lot. And I watch a lot of videos, and they say that, for example, they found some in Pennsylvania that are aggressive, and other people have been chased or something like that. I did not get any indication of any aggressiveness or intention to attack. I think that what I read was just, please leave me alone, do not follow me, and that's it. But yeah, those sounds are very interesting. The ones up in Canada, that guy that made a deal with a landowner or something, and they go and they almost talk. I don't know, but I don't I don't put it past them. I don't know that it's. I don't think he's making that up. I believe that it that it does happen, but it's surprising that they're able to repeat the names of the guy and all of that stuff. But who knows? This world is got a lot of mysteries that we don't know about. Mankind thinks they know everything, but I don't believe we do at all. We're far from it.
Exactly. Well, you saw this thing, just not that far away, and could make out, some really distinct features of this Bigfoot. So, from your impression, what do you think this is?
Bigfoot. There's no doubt in my mind. It is Bigfoot as described by many other people and by even scientists that know that they exist or have enough proof to know that such an animal exists or such a species exists. And I tell people, listen, look at the Washington list, the state of Washington list of endangered or protected species, and you'll see that Bigfoot is included. I live right in front of that volcano that went off. I lived in Hood River, but we could see it from there, Mount St. Helen. And they say that the government got involved, even helping some of these creatures. And for some reason, they don't want to kind of let it out. And I believe that to be true also. I've heard a lot of credible individuals talk about what they saw there, and I believe it to be true. So I don't know why the government covers it up, but I believe they're covering it up, and I believe they know it. Um, Washington, I lived right in the middle of Sasquatch land. I mean, there were places I used to go to a place there. They can also look in the map that's called Indian Holes. That there wasn't a sign of a human having been there for God knows how long, if at all. There are places in Oregon and Washington and Canada that are that people haven't been in. So we can't say they're not there. They are there. I know they're there, and I think there is many of them. But I do think that some have certain traits, like animals. It's like pigs, wild pigs, for example. Texas has a lot of them, and there's more Russian type, tendencies in the hog, and then Florida has many, but there's more like uh, they don't have the Russian body. Or anyway, I just think that they're a little different. Some bigger, some smaller. Just like deer are small in Florida. I think animals, are affected by their surroundings or where they live. But I can tell you that the Oregon and Washington are biggies. This thing was no less than 8 feet, probably 9 feet. And the width was, I would say, very close to 4 feet from one shoulder to the other. The arms, the thickness of almost a telephone pole, not quite, but close. And the hands would hang down uh, below their knee, below their knee. And just the way they walk, they don't walk like humans. When we put the foot up and the front, we hit the floor with the heel first. They they walk with the tip of their foot, uh, and that's what they touch, and the way they bend the knee, etc. And I don't remember that many details from it, but I do believe that this thing was, one. I have a brother-in-law that is an unbeliever and was telling me. Actually, I was recuperating from my surgery and was telling me, "Oh, that was a human that tried to." And I said, "Look, this was at 3 o'clock in the morning, so and it's 6 or 7 hours walk if you're in good shape from where the cars can no longer go. So you're telling me somebody parked down there and got a suit and came up trying to see if he could find somebody at night in the middle of the wilderness. And not only that, he must have a heck of an electronic sound system to be able to produce the volume and the power of that growl that would echo in the mountains. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You have to think about it. And there's some things that you can't say no to, and that was one of them.
Absolutely, I can understand that. When you were out there, and it is 3 a.m. Obviously, it's an unexpected experience that you're having. So,
Oh,
outside of the tent and looking at this creature that is not that far away, you can see facial features. Did you have a lot of fear at that point? What were you emotionally
oh,
going?
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you you're completely helpless there. It's like, look, if you're camping in Africa and something happens and you look out and there is a lion 15 yards away growling, that's a fear that you feel. Well, that's the same fear that we all felt, and not knowing if he was going to come back, not knowing if he was going to attack, not knowing anything. Of course, you're terrified. You don't ever forget it. I will never, the day I close my eyes in this world, I will still remember. There is no way,
Yeah.
that I can forget that it changes your life. And then people say, why didn't you take a picture? What? First of all, phones didn't have pictures, didn't have cameras. But think about this. You think I'm going to be fully asleep, wake up, and approximately a minute later be looking at something I've never looked before, I've never looked at before, and that the phenomenal sound that was very, very intimidating, and think, oh no, wait a minute, let me get a camera. I'll take a picture. I mean, does it make sense at all? No, it doesn't make sense. So people say, oh, you didn't take a picture, it can't be true. Okay, well, think whatever you want. I don't really care what you think,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly. And so many people have that same experience. They're in this very, very unusual position. And, the last thing on their mind is to take a picture of this thing. Is there anything else you want to tell us, Daniel?
No, I think that people should keep their mind open, not be so prone to criticize something. Do their due diligence using a little bit of human intelligence and deduction, and they will find that they might not be a super believer, but they're not going to say it does not happen. They're going to leave their mental door open to the possibility that it does exist. And I can personally tell you, I am telling you, I never needed psychological help. I've had a phenomenal life with phenomenal children, phenomenal wife, without any issues in my life whatsoever. I'm also a private pilot, or what was. I had my own airplane. I had no issues in life, emotional, to make me think. And I can tell you, I saw what exactly I'm, explaining that I saw. I know it exists. So I wish I would have seen more afterwards, because I wasn't, after that, and thinking about it a little bit, I said, well, I have come here so many times and stayed here with my children for as long as 2 weeks with my kids. One was my son, 14, and then I had a younger kid that was probably 12, actually a girl. And they have never attacked us. They sure could have attacked us. So they don't really want to attack us. They just want to be left alone, So I do believe, absolutely, no matter what I read or what I hear or whatever, even if it's scientists saying no or whatever, that scientist is wrong. I know it exists.